So we were really pleased with our four prize winners because they represent a set of approaches, very diverse approaches, from formal sort of top-down building first approaches to bottom-up program first. We found our fourth prize winner to have quite a provocative entry that acknowledges the iconicity of Empire State Building, but rather than keep the building, actually a new building is built around the shape of the building, and that central portion is filled with a portion of green, much like Central Park. So it's a merger of the horizontal and vertical axes of New York City. So already very provocative, but in addition, a stunningly beautiful, almost surreal presentation of these ideas that left the jury wondering a lot, and that spoke a lot of conversation, made us have a lot of conversation.
There's actually a component which very often in housing for older people is being proposed and is very successful, is actually the front porch. So what's interesting that actually the void becomes a front porch actually for everyone within the building. And then people not just looking outside, they actually look at each other. So there's kind of a sense of a community that's actually generated through the open void in the center of the building, which is part of the landscape.
I mean, it was beautiful in the way that it's a vertical Piazza Navona, or it is a vertical kind of a Lucca, right? Where the negative is more important than the positive, which is not always easy to do and often forgotten. Really powerful.
Somebody wants to vote?
The third prize?
Third prize, right here. You know, this one came from behind, I'll be honest, because the beauty of it was really in the thoughtfulness of the solution. And the graphics did tell the story, perhaps not as compellingly as some of the others, but we were really impressed with the, what would we say, the comprehensiveness of the development of the concept and the true attention to the reality of what it would be like to live here and incorporate tourism and incorporate streetscapes and incorporate what an elder might do in their everyday retired life, whether it's selling a painting as they're doing in this picture here. And so this was really what we found to be a very, very thoughtful person who was able to get into the head of the people who would have to live here and understand how that might work in a very realistic sense. And we were also impressed with the thoughtfulness of the travel statement.
No, what I like about this proposal is also there's a double benefit for the people who live here, who actually can turn some of their apartments into a work area and then retail, and then also for the tourists who now can experience a more authentic purchase of a product that's being produced in Manhattan, in the Empire State Building. And I think that is actually something very important when we design for an aging population, to not just look at the older people. It needs to actually have an integration that has a benefit for all generations or for all participants. I thought that one really tackled that kind of issue we're ahead.
Any thoughts on number two?
I'll start with number two because I was by far the biggest advocate for this as number one, for a whole bunch of reasons. But first of all, I love the crazy criteria of inventing a program and saying that the typical classic office floor plate won't do in the future for this building, so I need to invent a new typology. And then I need to find a way to compose it so that it fits within my frame. And I thought this project very, very beautifully had a crazy inside and a very delicately transformed exterior. And I appreciated very much the inventiveness and the skill of this particular proposal.
Yeah, I think we all responded well to how bold the intervention is, and it's demonstrated on this page in a very bold way. And yet, when seen with building, it's got a kind of subtlety and sophistication that belies this kind of graphic.
I feel like I just have to do it because, you know, I need to go to that page too, so you get to see the kind of gentle intervention that was made exterior versus the kind of powerful intervention on the inside. not easy to do. I think a very skilled architect was working on this.
And also there are moments such as this where those interventions are used experientially in really exquisite and surreal ways, where there's a beach in the middle of winter with the horizon being filled with Manhattan.
That's actually something also very important, that I think the excellence in design can actually fight age discrimination. And this is a great example when you see that beach from the outside and you want to be there and you're like, who lives there? Older people. Oh my God, I want to be there too. Maybe I want to be old because then I can live there. I think that's also changing our design, our society through excellence in design.
How few buildings in New York have a swimming pool? Imagine that.
Yeah. Yeah. So wonderful. And lastly, I just want to talk a tiny bit about our first prize winner. And the thing that struck me about the first prize winner is how this person tackled the problem at every single level. From the level of programming and thinking about how a senior ecosystem should work, where jobs are brought in, where tourists are brought through, where a whole set of other activities go to making and create a full life, through to ways to intervene in the building, specifically the ways to modify apartments over time and according to income level, the ways to tackle making larger collective spaces, the ways to think about ecology and making the building self-sufficient and being able to run itself, and then finally the way the building through all of these smaller scale interventions takes on a new life and a new personality that changes over the years. I thought this was very provocative and very complete and thorough.
Yeah, and I think on top of it, it's also beautifully visualized, and I think that is always the case. I think if you can communicate an idea in an emotional fashion, that of course also adds another value that is important, that beyond the presentation, then of course also the final product will need to present.
I guess I'll make a closing comment.
Fine.
And I'll come all the way to the very end, which says a city of integration. Because New York is a very complex place. And when you think about the city's icons, they're usually attached to some place. Take what's going on at Ground Zero, around a 6-acre park. You take what's going on all the buildings on Central Park. And you think about the location of the Empire State Building merely on the intersection of 5th Avenue and 34th Street. It is really one of the most, I'll just say, weakly located iconic structures in the world, whether that's a strength or something to be addressed. It would have been interesting if someone would have addressed the location of this. I didn't see anybody begin to suggest a park or a piece of public realm or a series of structures around the Empire State Building in order to improve the Empire State Building without touching the Empire State Building, which is also a very classic New York problem. Like, I would have loved to have seen the removal of some neighboring fabric to create a bit different public place on the corner of 34th and 5th, two of the city's great streets. Almost a Times Square-like thing, or a Bryant Park kind of thing, or a new kind of a thing that would locate a place here.
Just goes to show you that for every solution, there are 1,000 other solutions.
Yes.
And that's what makes a competition so exciting, is that there's no right answer.
I think it's the urbanistic version of this, where the void is more important, right? I think urbanistically for me, it's the streets and parks and public realm that matter more. In fact, they tend to be more important, more memorable than buildings.
Excellent.
And it's very difficult in a competition like this for that to get addressed. And I bring it up because I did not see one, and I wish I would have seen one.
Next time.
Yeah, next time. There's always next time.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Well, and now we're going to look forward that the winners are traveling and going to gather more information and actually just help our profession to move ahead with amazing knowledge and experiences.
Congratulations to all the winners.
Congratulations.